Hello, it's Halloween in Oxford. It's misty and strange. Can you believe it? It's Christmas next month. Last night at Halloween, our neighbours decided it would be a wizard wheeze to send children down our lane to bang on our door. Our dogs went crazy and we've completely run out of sweets. Welcome to the Internet Seriously. I'm Lucien Taylor in Oxford.
I'm Emily Taylor in Oxford.
And I'm Kieren McCarthy, also in Oxford.
Hooray! And today we welcome Heidi McCormack, who's the Chief Executive of the insurance company Emerald Life.
Lovely to be here.
Yeah, welcome, Heidi, welcome. Before we talk to you, just coming up, in their first budget in more than 14 years, the Labour Party has just delivered a huge change-making budget, according to the BBC. What does this mean for the tech industry and, for me, the security of the internet in general? OpenAI has just announced a ChatGPT Chrome plugin. How will this work with Google's Gemini thing that's also happening in Chrome? And firstly, Emily's going to introduce our special guest for today. Thank you very much. Heidi, before I hand over to Emily, we were chatting away and I was just fascinated by the discussion. I just want to warn you that we will be interrupting you, even though what I want to hear you talk about is really interesting about the insurance industry and the work that you've been doing. But I want you to think about your guilty pleasure online and also your Tech Room 101. But for now, Emily, over to you.
Heidi, welcome to Oxford and thank you so much for coming to visit us today. So you're Chief Executive and founder, right, of Emerald Life, along with Steve, your partner, business partner, and Emerald Life offers home, wedding, pet, travel insurance, catering for the underinsured. Can you help us with what that means?
I will help you, and I'll give you an anecdote. It's been a 10-year journey about finding what is the core or the core cohorts that we focus on. We launched with the intent of really focusing on the LGBT community and set up the website and had images and...
Sorry, just to cut in on that, why the LGBT community in particular?
Well, our purpose is really to serve underserved, underinsured groups, and my business partner, Steve, has been an LGBT activist going back to the Equalities Act and all sorts of things. And we knew anecdotally that certainly LGBT have struggled historically with services, with products that work for them, and we can come back to some anecdotes or examples of that. So initially, knowing that Steve, as a member of that community, has had some of those experiences or shared them, we wanted to address and make insurance accessible as a product and as a customer experience for that cohort to begin with.
Right, and who would you classify as underinsured? What does that mean?
Well, we started off focusing on LGBT, and we did all sorts of YouGov surveys and decided that we didn't know enough about the trans community at that point, so we have a trans advisory. But we launched focusing on the gay and lesbian communities and set up all the marketing and the branding.
And just to help me understand, so this is like when people are applying for an insurance policy for a car or something, they're typically asked, what is your pronoun? Are you Mr., Mrs.? And you're saying in the old days, or is it still now, you're asked whether you're a Mr., Mrs. and married or not married, and that's it?
Yes, no. So some people even prefer not to have a title.
Yes.
And some people prefer gender-neutral titles like MX or PER, person.
And in our family and here in the company, we have people who prefer not to be non-binary, and this is important. So, and the insurance industry in those days didn't recognise that.
No. You had to have a title, and usually the title default was Mr. when you began an online journey?
Well, because men, pay for things.
Yeah.
They do all the work. They pay for things. And,
This is Downton Abbey.
Indeed. Yeah. So it's trying to get out of the molds of, talk about imaging. It is not a white, straight, hetero, 2.2 kids, 2.2 cars. So when we were talking about the imagery that we first selected, there were a lot of same-sex couples, and they were very gay images, I will be quite frank. And then we... When we tested that, because we thought our tagline was, you're gay and lesbian insurer.
You're gay and lesbian insurer.
That was our original tagline,
right.
which absolutely died in market testing.
Oh, did it?
Oh my God!
Really?
Everyone
in the focus groups and
gay,
things. It was just
straight,
sorry.
everything.
You'd focus grouped it, and everyone's like, "This is brilliant."
Yeah. And then actually, real customers, because we launched and we're like, "Go test the site live," and they're like, What
even gay
is this?
and lesbians were like,
this is so not me. This does not represent me.
No.
Yes. So we're back to the drawing board.
So did you have to pivot quite quickly?
Oh yes. So we did more UCO surveys.
Isn't this funny, Kieren? The paradoxical effects of things you try and do, and we're going to be talking about government and the budget in a bit, but you set out to do this thing, you have this branding exercise and you think everyone's going to love it, and they hate it.
Yeah, and then you hit reality really hard. No, I love the idea of, I can see how it makes sense, right? We're going to target this market. Okay, good. How do we tell people? Let's tell them, right, this is for you, gay and lesbians, and they're like, why? Why do I need special insurance?
Why am I different?
Right.
Is it going to be more?
Are you
Yeah.
saying I'm inherently risky? I mean, it's it's immediately sort of...
So when people are buying insurance, are they phoning up? Are they, I guess it's sort of, are they using their phone? Are they using, how does technology kind of integrate into your sales funnel?
It really depends on the product.
Mm-hmm.
Something that's fairly straightforward, let's say travel insurance or wedding insurance, they'll do it on their phone. And you have to make sure the journey basically is optimized for the phone.
Yeah.
And it can
Wow.
Oh, yeah, of course.
Absolutely.
Because it can be a right mess.
And it has to do with colors, and it has to do with how questions are presented. Is it a drop-down menu? Is it a poke? Does it work well on Samsung? Does it work well on an Apple?
As chief exec, do you spend a lot of your time just going through it? Is that the level of importance that it is to you?
Yeah.
Sure.
Right.
Also because Steve and I know the question set best, and we know what questions kind of come up most from customers.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's those. What you want to do is make the journey as absolutely simple as possible.
And we were talking about this in the green room. You were saying that people don't, they don't take a Saturday off to go insurance.
Insurance.
I'm going to buy a new outfit and some insurance. It's very much around.
It's high intense.
The journey you're already in. So if you're in a British Airways ticket or holiday situation, you're then added a value added. Sort of, do you want to insure this particular trip or this?
Yeah.
So I suppose you don't get many impulse buyers, do you?
No.
It's like, I need to get this done.
Here's what I want to know. So you're the chief exec of an insurance company. When you took on that role, do you now have more insurance or less insurance than you did before?
Oh, good point. Good point. I have more.
Right.
Yeah.
I have more, and I'd say specifically travel insurance. I just had a big birthday, 6-0, and I have...
No.
Yeah.
I left it for you to say that. I thought this is running.
But the point is there's step-ups in cost. So 55 is a big step up, 60 is a big step up, and when the only reason for me that you buy insurance, we were talking about it, is cataclysmic, and you really buy travel insurance.
So you're not a big claimer?
It's not for cancellation, it's for medical.
Yeah.
Okay.
And for example, my partner and I had to fly to the States, which has very high health care. So the insurance cost was treble. But the most important thing, in my opinion, is with travel insurance really is the coverage.
Right. Can I also ask
Health
about
coverage.
pregnant women and
Yes.
travel insurance? Because...
Great question.
getting travel insurance in your third trimester is pretty much you might as
Yes.
well be
This
a,
is a loaded
war
question.
correspondent.
I know what you're after.
In a conflict zone, you've got more of a chance than getting travel. This is from a real world example, not myself, but a staff member.
Yes.
And actually trying to get her insured for travel in the third trimester is pretty much impossible.
Yes.
And is that based on real? I mean, I can see the reasoning. You know, you are more tired in your third trimester, and something could happen. But mostly people do sail through their third trimester until very close. Is it so? Tell us about it.
It's just driven by actuarials and actuaries, and actuaries out there in the world.
Wonderful people.
They are
adorable,
they are.
much like lawyers.
But their job is statistical risk, and it is, and that's all insurance is really is stats behind risk.
Which comes on to something that I want to talk about. But first of all, it's time for our guilty pleasure online.
I look there.
Heidi McCormack, what is your... Sorry, there was just a jingle happening in my ear that I was letting play out. So if I do this, then you know that we're waiting for the jingle.
Okay.
Heidi McCormack, what is your guilty pleasure online?
I have two, if I may. The first one is real estate porn. I just love looking south of France.
You are the first person to say the word
Thank
porn.
you for sharing. There's no reason for guilt on
You're
this.
the first person who said the word porn. That's all I've heard in this section.
Real estate.
No,
So any
real
particular
estate,
place?
South
or
of France, between Villefranche and Toulon. Yeah, that's kind of.
Are you
Well, that's very precise.
Are you looking?
Actively shopping. Actively shopping.
Actively shopping. So these places with infinity pools up a cliff, looking at.
We're going to vote
sea.
on this. What's
Yes.
your second one?
The second one is whenever I buy something like on Amazon, I open thousands of tabs, and I keep them all open. Like I could have 20 tabs open before I make a decision.
I'm also a tab collector.
A tab junkie.
A tab collector.
So is that by accident or by
No,
design?
it's-
Is that to
it's so
fool
you can-
the algorithm, or is it to
it's
to make lots of
It's just to
lots of
see
choices?
all of the things that you're considering up against each other, and you just
So you go flick, flick.
yeah.
So there are
good.
two
I'm
things.
more into the real estate porn myself.
Yeah,
What
thanks,
about you, Kieren?
Emily.
You're a
No,
tabber.
She's voted.
This is
Okay.
great. Emily now feels confident enough to say the porn word in the context of our guilty pleasure online.
Well, that's the thing about
Yeah,
sharing.
and make
Liz.
sure, guys, that short is really cropped. So, yeah, I'm very interested in the insurance industry, both as, well, two aspects of that. Victims of cybercrime, where their brands are targeted
Yes.
by scammers to fool people. And when you have brand names in links online, in a text message that's sent to people or in a chat group, it's very compelling, it's very reassuring to victims. We've done research that shows that. The financial sector, which includes the insurance sector, and there's a lot of blurring between the banks and the insurers. They're now fifth in our league table of sectors. So if you think the tech sector is at the top, they're the most abused sector online. People employ tech platforms and things to deliver harm. Number two, try and guess number two of the stack. Not insurance. It's home delivery. Home delivery, all the everys and the and
Makes
that
sense when you hear it.
that creates a lot of contamination, because other sectors depend upon home delivery to fulfill the promise of their sector. So we were talking to food and drink, and they were like, we hate the problems that are happening with the home delivery sector. So anyway, in the insurance, in our league table, which we maintain, the AXAs, the Merrills, the AIGs are there, but the scammer's not really doing that. What the scammer's doing is putting in the generic, the non-branded, and that's very hard for the insurance companies to either track or care about, because it's words like car insurance. It's words like insurance.
Or
Buy
renew,
now.
I suppose, things like that. Yeah.
And quite often they're incentivized. They're like, join this, win a voucher for £100.
Yeah.
And they go to a site
You're
and it
either
will
in
look
trouble or you're going to win
and
something.
it will look like Emerald Life.
Yep.
The site has been engineered in seconds to look like your site,
Yep.
and they'll be in a false fraudulent buying session. I'm interested in the insurance industry as a whole because they're sort of missing from our conversation in cybercrime, and I think this is this something that you're interested in, that Emerald Life is trying to do, or?
Well, I tell you how the industry handles that, and that is, with the exception of the big companies like the Axes, who have also financial capability in-house. So if you want to do monthly payments for your home insurance instead of an annual, companies of that size do it in-house, which means they're also storing credit card details, the payment tokens. Smaller companies such as Emerald use third parties like SagePay, like
Yes.
Elevon. There's a lot of platforms. So
Stripe.
yes.
Yeah,
So we have
Google Pay. Yeah.
all of the above. PayPal, we store none of the details of a customer payment capability, so to speak. There's a payment token, which is unique to our
Yeah.
system, which will fire into whichever payment platform. But that's the most basic way that we protect ourselves if our servers are compromised, et cetera, by not storing that data.
Yeah, and I'm very interested because we were talking to pharmaceuticals, weren't we? And the Viagras and things like that are real. The scammers are going for where people feel weak, they feel private, and they're buying stuff, they're paying for stuff, and there's a lot of contamination. The pharmaceuticals industry were saying, there's a lot of contamination from this activity. It's not directly hitting me. It's not coming out of your turnover, but it is affecting the whole industry.
Yeah.
Kieren, do you see this sort of?
Yeah, well, what I think is quite interesting, the industry doesn't seem very brand strong. I know there are brands, but there's very little brand loyalty. So when I get insurance, I'm not even sure how I find insurance if I'm thinking about it. I type in the type of insurance that I want, and I've had insurance from all the people that you've mentioned, but I don't think, I must get them again. So I think in terms of abuse, the issue the industry is going to have is the abuse is always going to be around generic terms. Because it's not going to be like, let's find out about AXA that pops up that means very little to me, really.
Yes.
And I wonder how you deal with that. Also, I mean, how do you try and build a brand, Emerald
sure.
Life brand, and then how does the brand work in people's minds, and how does that work online?
Two different answers. Depending on the type of insurance, people will go to an aggregator site. And if you have a bog standard home, which is standard construction, bricks, tile roof, etc., you are well served sometimes, quite often, to go to a home insurance aggregator. If you have a freehold, if you have a fiberglass roof, if you have anything that's non-standard, that will not be well served. And if you buy a product from an aggregator, again, speaking of home insurance, you won't necessarily, Coach House, another good example, you won't necessarily have exactly a product match, and you could actually be underinsured or incorrectly insured.
Right.
Coach House has, let's say, 3 garages, 2 are on long-term leases. That needs to be written in, because that means you have a party that's not living in the household entering the bottom of the property, for example. Freehold, let's say you have an old Victorian house that's been converted into 3 flats.
Oh, Kieren's got an old Victorian house in Putney. It hasn't been converted. I think you're unconverting.
I'm unconverting the fact.
Yeah. But a rebuild value wouldn't just be a standard 3-bedroom house or 5-bedroom house. You have 3 kitchens. You have 3 times the amount of plumbing.
Yeah.
So if you talk about to rebuild that structure as a 3-unit, somebody needs to walk you through, or you need to have a valuation and a survey, and insurance that actually insures a freehold, multiple unit, and not. So those are 2 extreme examples.
We're running out of time. I want to talk about this all day, but we can't. We've got a couple of other things to talk about, which I'd love you to stay around.
Sure.
But first of all, it's time for our Tech Room 101. Heidi McCormack, what is your tech room 101? What would you like to throw away from the internet and put in the bin forever?
I am going to be traditional, and I would say ads.
This is from an insurance chief executive. I don't believe that you never have any ads.
No, your share price has gone.
You're just this is other ads, isn't it? This isn't
Other
your
people's
ads. This is
ads.
other people's
Do you
ads.
advertise?
No.
You don't advertise.
No,
online?
we.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, we actually no. We spent. I don't even want to go into how much money we spent early doors on Facebook posts and sponsored posts.
Yeah.
Absolutely no, because
No
again,
sales.
because we're so high up the intent funnel, people need home insurance, they need travel insurance, they need. No, it's about actually having good content. We organically appear first, second, or third, and we've spent a lot of time to get there in producing content. And as we were talking about before the show, the next arena is we have to do the same thing to make sure our presence is correct and accurate in the AI platforms.
Oh,
Right.
wow.
And the AI searches, that takes us on to a subject that I know that we wanted to talk about, which is the integration of AI results in search, and that's been happening in Chrome for a while. Kieren, you had something on this.
Before we answer that, please follow us, like and share online. I missed that, so I'm going to squeeze that in because we also want that again at the end. Kieren, the OpenAI, what's happening?
Yeah, so
there?
this week's been quite interesting. So OpenAI, which is ChatGPT, which probably the most well-known AI, I would say, they have announced a Chrome plugin, which will be a search engine. They're calling it ChatGPT Plus. So
What?
they're basically, ChatGPT Plus. I don't think it matters.
ChatGPT Plus.
Chat.
GPT.
Just a P.
GPT.
Just one
Just
P.
one. Just one.
And so they're basically trying to take over the Google space. They're saying, use our search engine. Our search engine is better. Now, is it or not? I don't know. I'm going to find out. I'm definitely going to try it.
So the thinking is...
Do you use the AI results in Chrome from Google Gemini at the moment?
Yeah, currently I use
They're
Google.
quite good.
They're quite good.
Sorry,
Bit
when I
scarily
think
good.
about Chrome, I think about Google because Google
Chrome.
runs Chrome, and it has a market for plugins called Google extensions, which go into the browser, and that can have quite a deep function in there, but it's still secure, bound by Google, isn't it?
I mean, yes. I mean, so Google does tend to have quite an open view of the internet in general. So it allows quite a lot of stuff to be done to its browser. And so if you write the plugin correctly and you don't break any of its rules, you can do all kinds of things. And that's clearly what OpenAI has done.
So is this introducing a new search market then that's competing with Google results?
Well, this is clearly what they're after. I mean, ChatGPT, OpenAI is trying to make a lot of money. They're edging towards a more for-profit company. And if they can get a piece of the search market, that is worth. Well, that's why Google exists, because of the search market.
Heidi, how do you feel about the Google results now with the OpenAI? Are you interested in that? Are you seeing that now?
We cannot ignore any of the platforms. We were looking at how Emerald organically appeared. We asked the top 10 wedding providers, insurers in the UK, and the first search, and this was ChatGPT, the first search results referred to two department store related brands, mainstream brands, that have not sold wedding insurance in 5 years, and they were 1 and 2.
Wow.
So that one of our very active projects right now is to understand, but then reverse engineer and educate
What's happening?
The platforms, every single one of them, about Emerald and what we do accurately.
Yeah, Emily, when I worked in the health service very briefly, and still got PTSD from that, but they used to say that computers were Microsoft. I think now people are saying that the internet is Google. If you're going to the internet, the window of the internet is Google. Can you see an alternative search engine being something that people automatically go to from Chrome, which defaults to Google search?
I think the amazing thing about tech is how disruptive new offerings come through. Like 10 years ago, 15 years ago, you wouldn't have imagined that there could be another web browser other than Explorer and other rubbishy ones. And then Google came in with Chrome, and now it represents more than 90% of European markets. And so disruptors can come through, and which is why I think Google and others are getting really on top of their own AI offerings. ChatGPT got out there to the market earlier than everybody else, and everyone else is scrambling to keep up. So I'm sort of open-minded. I think that we are at a point where things could change really rapidly and new giants could emerge. I think the existing giants want to make sure that they are the new giants too, plus. But, we weren't talking about OpenAI a couple of years ago. Mm-hmm. Now we're talking about ChatGPT virtually
it does feel like a
day.
Clarkson farm where you're watching the piglets all stand on top of each other to survive. I'm not going to...
The other truth of it is if this comes up with better results, people will use it.
Yes.
I mean, it's as simple as that.
And
it's
it's a bit like the loyalty you talked about, or lack of loyalty with insurance. It's like, if it comes up with better price, better coverage,
then you'll take it.
Let's be clear, though. SEO, search engine results, page positions and stuff is all based upon, it used to be based upon quality of pages, is now all based upon traffic. I cannot believe...
I disagree.
Okay.
Right,
no, it's not.
No,
it's not. No, the Google algorithm is not traffic. It is quality content based. Yeah. If there is repetition, if they're sensing that there's too much from AI.
Yeah,
so it's not just traffic.
But it is augmented by traffic as well. I do think that Google is a fan of quality and promote, but it measures quality through traffic as well. Is there time on page? Are people staying on the site? Yeah. Do they like it? Do they refer to others? Does it lead to other things in the buying funnel? It's very much around the user behavior. Certainly in my day when I used to sort of teach this stuff in digital marketing, it was all about don't just get the structure of your site right, actually produce content that is engaging for people, and then if more and more people come, and I'm sure that's what the chat's going to be looking at.
It'd be really interesting to see what the AI version of this is, because Google is optimized. Google has become the internet in many ways, because it decides what you see and therefore where you go. So it'd be really interesting to see.
We're too interested in this. We're going to
watch
watch this. We're going to keep following this. But we've got a huge topic to just end with, and we're already in minus time.
I wanted to ask Heidi about Russia and disinformation, but you'll have to come back.
Okay.
You'll have to come back because we do have a big topic that I really do want your thoughts on. She said this is not the sort of budget we would want to repeat. That's Rachel Reeves telling the BBC after her budget, which raises taxes by 40 billion, but also investment by 100 billion. And apparently this is the thing that actually did shock the market. They were expecting the budget, they were expecting the tax rises and the national insurance rises, but it took the market about 12 hours to recover from the shock. And you were talking about the conservatism of the market. I was wondering really who Liz Truss and Kwarteng sort of shocked everybody by doing stuff that the market wasn't expecting, and the pound crashed.
Yeah, I'm really interested in Heidi's views on this as the only person around the table who actually understands financial markets. But yeah, I mean, my very limited sort of knowledge on this is that what Truss and Kwarteng did wrong was they didn't trail their plans enough, and so everyone got a massive shock. They wanted a big kind of bang moment, and they got it. Whereas I think this Chancellor has at least trailed her plans to... We all knew that there were going to be tax rises, didn't we? We didn't know that there was going to be so much public sector investment, but that's a very Labour manifesto thing. They were very much about public services.
Well,
Heidi, what did you think? Did you feel like so Lucien's question was, did the markets react in a more muted way because they were expecting this? Are they freaked out about the investment? And what are the contrasts between the sort of Truss and Kwarteng approach?
Well, if we think about what the Labour government inherited. There was a known 20 bill deficit already, and when the incumbent comes in to play in the Chancellery, it has basically there was a 40 billion deficit, not a 20. And I agree with doing your fiscal homework. And what will be fascinating to see is if this truly is a one-time, which is what essentially Rachel Reeves said this is a one-time setup.
And I really question this as a tech person, because the tech sector, it's apparently good news. DSIT, the government department, 6.5% increase, plus 80 million to transform functions across government. Civil service, more productive, harnessing digital technology. NHS, 2 billion in tech. Department of Trade and Industry, 4 million tech adoption across SMEs. Project Gigabit, AI Opportunities Action Plan coming up. R&D missions program to solve targeted problems, which I'm really interested in. Question for you, Kieren. You've been in politics, you've been a Lib Dem candidate. This thing about one-off, I've never known a one-off cost of tech development. It doesn't work investing in basically, we're going to tech out government, is what I'm hearing. We're going to make government big tech, big government, big tech. But it doesn't work, does it? The cost of tech development and innovation I've never known it stopped. It's like the cars and the factories in the 60s. Are we still driving 60s cars? No.
I think they're taking a big gamble. They're front-loaded. This is a front-loaded budget. They're putting a huge amount in the first 2 years, and then they're hoping that it will work, and then that will cause growth. The OBR currently says that it won't, but who knows?
What does work mean? If it will work.
Growth in the economy, people
stimulate growth.
Stimulate it, business will pick up, they'll start paying people more because it's working, and there'll be more demand. And they're hoping this will happen. The biggest worry is so they're not tying this in with any reforms. So they've put some huge chunk of money to the NHS, but it's actually not physically possible to just go spend money. It's just not possible with that large amount. You actually have to have a plan. And also there needs to be a lot of reform to make that stuff happen. So
and
the risk is there'll be all this money.
The track record of government and tech systems is not a happy one. And there's, that tends to come with billions of price tags and very little
Who's going to get
value
the money?
delivered.
Question to you all tech wonks then. Is there enough expertise in government about tech to deliver on these from a structural standpoint?
Well, in my experience,
there's pockets. So I think that there are definitely,
but not the big buyers.
So
in the NHS,
the political classes,
well, the procurement in the NHS is dreadful.
When I worked there, it was like we need some more tech, so we'll ask Microsoft what we need, and we'll get some more client access licenses for 1 million staff.
Well, the other thing that worries me is they've set up, I can't remember, it's either 4 or 5 or 10 set up new offices that will track the money, and that is a guaranteed delay spend. So if they're trying to get it all done in 2 years, and you've got new offices to be set up that they're then going to review, that's the wrong way to do in the modern world. In the old world, you would do it and create a new body and then figure out how to spend it all. In the modern world, you need it written into the process. Yeah. So I think this is like old Labour thinking.
Yes.
I'm not sure it's going to work in the world.
Can they do that spending supervision more smartly than it has been done historically? Because there's so many tools out there to do it.
I don't know, Heidi. You asked whether there's the chops,
the expertise.
So at the political classes, no, definitely not, and definitely not hearing from the Labour government any thinking about tech.
There are a lot of smarter people.
The civil service, yes, on tech policy, I think they're very, especially the Brits. I think on things like security and international tech policy are really good. But when it comes actually to procuring systems, I'm not so sure. Because I think the numbers just get out of control and the complexity gets out of control.
We're frowning
really quickly.
We're worried. We don't know.
Stop right now.
And we don't really know, do we?
Everything's going to be fine, Heidi.
We're spending more than ever, and the big message is that we're spending more than ever.
Yeah.
It's not actually we're going to go for eco, or we're going to go for small business, or we're going for growth.
A lot of money.
Yeah.
Waste a lot of money.
I'm worried about the lack of vision. I feel like it's like we're balancing the books and we're doing this investment, but it's like, for what? Growth is a very sort of big
It's kind
picture,
of
but it
reactive,
doesn't feel
when
like
you say,
this
Kieren.
is-
It's like a local council saying we've needed more money for 10 years and now we're getting
got
more
it.
money.
So I think the assumption under this is that they think they'll be in for 10 years, i.e. 2 terms, which I think is a pretty solid assumption, unless they really mess up. And so I think they're front loading in 2 years. They're giving a lot more money to people at lower wages, which is the Labour's perspective, and I fully get that after
And we were
14
expecting
years
that.
of Conservative government. So I think they're doing that, and then they're hoping this will feed through to growth. They think they'll win regardless in
Right.
5 years' time, and then they'll come up with a different plan. But I don't like it. It doesn't feel good.
No.
Thank you very much. I think we're out of time. Fascinating discussions today. We've been discussing the first Labour budget in over 14 years. We're just not sure. OpenAI has just announced a Chat GPT Plus Chrome plugin, and we've been discussing the insurance industry, and fascinating discussion. Thank you, with our guest today, Heidi McCormack. Thank you, Heidi.
My pleasure.
And welcome. I don't think we have any opportunity for Voice of God today because we've simply run out of time. Sorry, God.
And channels.
And but I do need to mention the channels. Please follow, like, I just can't remember this bit. Please like us, follow us, or whatever it is on the channels, because we really need you to do that. Thanks very much.